Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Chaos Child. In the last episode, things got strange when Shinji received a phone call from none other than Takuru Miyashiro's own phone, which he dropped back at the hospital and which was picked up by the young girl and the old woman lurking around there as well. But even though Takuru supposedly cancelled his phone account, they were still able to get in contact with him. The only message that was sent was the ominous knocking, that Takuru was only far too familiar with. But then, the big day, the Culture Festival was in full bloom, and Tomoaki Watabe himself had shown up to take a gander around the school. But then the appointed time, 1 p.m., and afterwards, and Watabe was nowhere to be found. But then there he was, and unfortunately, he appears to have a sumo sticker carpet stuffed inside of him. Looks like Ed Lucas managed to get to him before we could. Probably should have taken the plunge and talked to him earlier today when we had the chance, but unfortunately Takuru's nerves are what they are. And he doesn't handle around big crowds that easily. But I think we can surmise that the new generation madness has claimed yet another victim. Although, that being said, if we're quick enough, it might be possible to save Watabe. The keyword being possible. But anyway, October 10th, 2015, Saturday. 12:28 p.m. Yeah, I think we're going to get an exposition as to how Watabe ended up the way he was. In an unused classroom in Heikyo Academy.
何もないところですいませんが、ここでお待ちいただけますか。
It's you again.
いえ、早く来てしまったのはこちらですから。
There's Watabe, putting on his usual social charm shtick. Watabe bowed, and the man who had led him here from the teacher's office bowed back. Then the man left the room. He'd forgotten the man's name as soon as he heard it. All he remembered was that he was a typical high school teacher, with somewhat delicate features. That was all Watabe thought he needed to know. Mental note. Make a note to remember that teacher's name. In fact, I'll look through my earlier episodes to find out.
しかし、なんでもねえところだな。
Yeah. And I would be surprised if you weren't already questioning this, Watabe. He heard that Heikyo was famous, but once he'd gotten inside, he found that it was just a normal high school. Maybe a little cleaner than most. He'd seen a TV crew from some station interviewing a student on his way here, but he couldn't imagine there was anything worth asking one.
まあ、多少は見どころのある奴らもいるみたいだが。
I think he's referring to Takuru and the newspaper club. Since his ostensible reason for being here was to do an article on the Culture Festival, he had to take a few pictures, and there are some students with the Gero Froggy memorabilia there. Since it didn't matter what pictures he took, he decided to just walk through the school. As he went by a class that was doing some kind of Gero Froggy cafe, there was a bit of fuss. Student after student had asked him for handshakes and autographs. Almost the entire class had known his name. Yeah, that's what happens when you're a internet celebrity. He'd even taken selfies with a girl who said she was a huge fan of his. When he told her to keep it a secret, she'd given him an innocent smile. That was the way it should be. That was the way normal people were supposed to act.
もっと上に行ってやれ。
It was only a short while ago that an online friend of his had suggested he come here. When he'd been putting together what he found out about the sumo stickers, those fucking brats at the newspaper clubs here had published just before he did. That's because we figured it out first. He'd given up on publishing his own article, but at least decided to show it to someone. When he let his friends see it, they suggested he publish it anyway. Something tells me that that person may or may not be K, aka Mio Kunosato. Call it a hunch. True, he was confident in the article itself. He'd gotten quite a very good picture of the sumo sticker at the Love Hotel, which the newspaper club had only been able to get at from a distance. And yet, there is a discrepancy between your photo and ours, even though they were taken of the same location. There was a chance he'd be called out for plagiarism, but then his friend had continued. I would start questioning that friend of yours. You're capable of turning that to your advantage, right? His friend knew him well.
所詮は高校生の一部活だ。
That we are. Everything would depend on how we handled the interview, but Watabe was confident he could use this to bolster his fame. The ideal result would be to show that the newspaper club were the ones who had copied him, even though that is clearly not true, given the timestamp. They uploaded their newspaper to Nikoniya all the time, so they were sure to know who he was. If he offered them the chance to help with his articles, they'd jump onto it no matter what demands he made. I wouldn't be so sure about that. He started off at the very bottom and worked his way up this far. I think it's called failing your way upwards, is the vernacular I was looking for. He was capable of getting any scoop he wanted. His power was a blessing from heaven for a man who wanted to be a first-rate journalist, even though you're really nothing of the sort. In the whole history of journalism, there had never been a case where a net reporter had identified a suspect ahead of the cops, the news, or the magazines. When a writer at a weekly magazine had found a suspect before the police, the whole of Japan went into an uproar. Watabe wanted to surpass that. Yeah, the thing about those kinds of journalists, they're fighting the good fight. You, on the other hand, good sir, just want to be famous.
あとは警察へのコネがあれば完璧だな。
Connections with the police, if only. His one worry was the Love Hotel incident. When he'd charged into the crime scene and gotten into a fight with the cops there, his camera had gone out of focus, and he'd failed to get part of the sumo sticker. He used that to get the scoop, but if someone on the police force was paying attention to those stickers, and if they were enough of a weirdo to be paying careful attention to Watabe's articles, they might find something strange.
まあ、大して違ってはいないだろうからな。
So Watabe did have to doctor his own photograph there. And unfortunately for you, both Mio Kunosato and Takuru Miyashiro know enough about films and analysis to be able to make the connection. People really didn't want to hear the truth. You'd be surprised about people. They wanted lies that sounded true, embellished so that they were all the more pleasing. I would question that sentiment. Unfortunately, if you were paying attention in the last episode, you will know where this is all going, because it has already happened. And for Tomoaki Watabe, it doesn't end well. When he heard the sound, he quickly flipped himself back into hard-working, good-natured reporter mode. Unfortunately, that knocking sound spells the end of your career. Well, then again, maybe not. They didn't open the door, nor did they say anything. Yeah. You were lured here under false pretenses. Well, not semi-false pretenses. Watabe grunted, soft enough that they couldn't hear, then put on a smile as he went to answer the door. And we're back in the present. The new generation madness has struck again.
わからない。
Yeah. We have to see that again. And still no one is actually bothering to help him. Yeah, this is... The students all started to panic at once, and the gym was filled with screams. Then Watabe's body fell to the floor as if in slow motion. I don't think we made it in time. His legs were splayed. His eyes were open wide, still full of the terror of death. He was weeping tears of blood. And...
あれは
そんな。
力士シール
Yeah. Yes, it was a huge pile of sumo stickers, so not a carpet then. Watabe was probably already dead, but there was still crumpled sumo stickers pouring out of his mouth. Yeah. Victim number 4. Oh god, not now. Of all times, not now. My heart was racing. Beads of cold sweat had formed on my back. I felt a scream welling up in my throat, but something held it back.
警察電話
Yeah, Hinae is finally showing her true colors, but unfortunately we can't capitalize on that. Watabe's eyes were motionless, pointing towards nothing in particular. I wanted to look away from this madness, but I couldn't.
警察って何番そうだ117
No, wait. The police were... Wait, what was it? Maybe it was 119?
おい
Maybe 110. Wait. Yeah, that was a woman there that said something to us. When we heard the voice, we were finally able to tear our eyes away from Watabe's body. There was a female student making her way to us, past the crowds fleeing toward the exits. A female student? No. She felt too grown up for that. I think it's time for introductions at long last, Takuru. And she was wearing a white lab coat. Between that and the sharp look in her eyes, part of me thought she might be a coroner, or at the very least, a Hoin Kiyoma reject.
一体
Sorry,
何があった
yeah. Forget I said that. God damn it. She slowly looked around the gym. Her gaze stopped at Watabe's body.
あれは
Should be obvious to your eyes. And then, without moving an eyebrow, she said,
やったのはお前たちか
Why would you ask that, Mio Kunosato? And Chapter 4, her words, the illusionary origin of the Tales Other Side.
なるほどな。じゃあ、被害者渡部さんは、時間になっても体育館に現れなかったと。
If we had met him earlier, we might have, then again, maybe not. But yeah, we're being questioned by Shinjo, Detective Shinjo.
そこで、宮代くんと和樹さん、それから有村さんが待っていたところ、彼がいきなり舞台に上がってきて、そこで事件は起きた。間違いないね。
Yeah, pretty much.
はい。
After that, things happened fast. The black-haired woman called Detective Shinjo, who contacted the police station. Since our club was supposed to have an interview with him, we were questioned in our club room. During the questioning, we could still hear students yelling outside, and the sound of dozens of patrol car sirens, but it soon all faded back into silence. The police had probably sealed off the whole school, but the culprits are long gone by now. There'd been no announcement about what was going to happen with the culture festival. But after what happened, there was no way it wouldn't be shut down.
で、伊藤君と尾上さんは事件の前に渡部さんの控え室へ行ったんだよね。渡部さんとは会わなかったのかい？
That they did. Huh? Am I a suspect? That's what Ito must have thought, because he suddenly started acting strange.
でも控え室には誰もいなかったんすな、尾上。
部屋は空っぽでした
Yeah. Curious that.
生徒会の役員は渡部さんの世話をしてたはずだろ？
Yeah.
それもいなかったです
Now that is peculiar. Serika must have been surprised by the sudden question because she started to fiddle with her Gero Froggy cell phone strap.
おいお前
And of course Mio will be here as well.
不愉快な音を立てるなうるさい
Well, this conversation is going to get more riveting, isn't it? She must have only then realized she was doing it because she quickly took her hand away from the strap.
尾上、落ち着け。誰もお前を疑ったりしないって。
ありがとう、タク。
有村さん、二人の言ってることは本当かな？
ええ、嘘じゃないですね。本当に誰もいなかったみたいですよ。
Yeah, she can confirm it, and the fact that she's the one confirming it does help. There was no doubt in her voice. From the look on her face, you'd think she knew the whole story. And for some reason, Shinjo seemed to believe her.
そうか、了解だ。
Yeah, should put two and two together and realize, well, we already know that Hinae Arimoto was a police informant of sorts. He believed every word Arimoto had said during the entire questioning. It was kind of strange. Did the two of them trust each other that much?
一応聞いておくが、有村さん、君は体育館に行く前は何をしていたんだ？
何言ってるんですか？直前まであなたたちと一緒にいたはずですけど。もしかして忘れてます？もしそうなら脳の精密検査を受けることをおすすめしますけど。
いや、もちろん分かっているさ。ただ、念のためというやつで。
Force of habit, I suppose. Shinjo scratched his head, as if he didn't know how to respond. I take that back. There clearly wasn't any trust between the two of them. In fact, he didn't seem to know how to handle her. Then why would he trust what she'd said? I think we all know who is responsible for that trust. Something felt strange. And there was one more thing. Arimoto had said that she was with Shinjo until right before she came to the gym. But there had been barely any time between Watabe's appearance on the stage and Shinjo's arrival. So what had Shinjo been doing at the culture festival? A very good question.
最初から何かが起こると予想してた。
Should stand to reason that he would eventually come to your conclusions, Takuru. Well, the same conclusions as you, I should elaborate. And then he got in touch with Arimoto ahead of time.
Hmm. 状況から考えると、君たちが彼の死に関与していることはなさそうだ。しかし、そうなると誰が？
Who killed Watabe and how? Well, we, the audience, know, well, the name, if not necessarily the identity of his murderers, Amy and Ed Lucas. But we don't know anything more other than that, except for the names.
渡部さんが舞台に上がってきたとき、怪しい人を見たりしていないか？
Names that are unbeknownst to everyone present in the clubroom, obviously. But there is one more actor in this little stage play. The certain someone whose name I said I was going to try and remember in the next episode.
はい。誰も。
君はどうだ？
The haired girl had been leaning against the wall with her arms crossed. She looked up.
残念ながら私が駆けつけた時現場はパニック状態だったからな。
That it was. Her voice was as mature and calm as her appearance. She was probably a third-year student, but I'd never seen her around the school before. Although you have heard her voice on Shibuya News broadcast. But then you haven't, it's probably going to be a while before he puts two and two together on that front. But maybe the white lab coat was because she was part of the biology club or the science club. But what would a student be doing here with a detective?
まったく面倒なことだ。お前たちが犯人だったら簡単に済んでよかったんだが。
Sadly, the new generation madness is anything but nice and easy.
それ
It's never
ど
that
ういう意味です？
straightforward.
どうもこうもそのままの意味だ。私からすればあなたの方が怪しいですけど。私は犯人じゃない。ほらどうだ、私が嘘をついているかどうかお前が一番よく分かっているはずだが。
Touche. Arimoto was clearly annoyed. But the black-haired girl didn't seem to care in the slightest.
まあまあ、久野里さん、それくらいにしといてくれ。
The first time in which Takuru has been introduced to her last name. Her name was Kunosato then. Evidently she knew Arimoto, but it was clear from their conversation that the two of them didn't get along. And for some reason...
おい、お前。
はい。僕ですか。
他に誰がいる？
Who else indeed?
それは。
さっきから何をジロジロ見ている？
いえ、別に。
だったら下でも向いていろ。鬱陶しい。
Yeah, that's just her attitude, Takuru. I didn't know why, but Kunosato seemed to have it out for me too, not just Arimura.
一体何なんだ。
What did I do? I'd never even met this girl before. Why would she act like this?
いや、待てよ。
Or was I wrong and we'd actually met somewhere before? Did I do something to tick her off then? Yet another mystery, piled on top of more mysteries. It was no good. I tried to remember and couldn't. But strangely...
彼女の声。
Yeah. It's a voice you've heard many times before. I felt like I'd heard that voice somewhere before. At midnight. But where?
ダメだ。こういう時に限って思い出せない。
Yeah, unfortunately not. If you did, you would put two and two together and realize that your vaunted internet broadcaster idol is in reality this cold-hearted, uncaring person standing in front of you in a lab coat. Yeah, the phrase, never meet your heroes, they will only disappoint you, certainly applies to Mio Kunosato, aka K from Shibuya News. It was really bugging me. There was nothing so useless as information that was inside you, but that you couldn't retrieve when you needed it. Information was only valuable if you could use it.
とにかくもう一度確認させてくれ。君たちは舞台の下で対談を待っていた。だがいくら待っても渡部さんは現れず、伊藤君と尾上さんが様子を見に行った。
That's pretty much the gist of it there, Shinjo.
その後しばらくして突然渡部さんが舞台に上がってきて、そこで倒れた。間違いないね。
Indeed it is.
はい。
That we can say with absolute certainty. I suddenly remembered the way Watabe had looked. His eyes were out of focus but full of terror. He was weeping tears of blood. His hand was stretched out as if seeking help, and the sumo stickers poured out of his mouth covered in blood and vomit. It was a bizarre scene. I looked over at Arimoto and she must have remembered it too, because she was wincing.
両目から出血。口からは異物を嘔吐か。吐き出したのは力士シールと呼ばれる妙なシールだったな。検視は進んでいるのか、新庄さん。解剖はいつ行われる？
子供たちの前でそこまでは。
I don't think she gives a damn, Shinjo.
子供たちの前か。
Then again, you would definitely call Takuru and the others children compared to you, Mio. Kunosato snorted, annoyed.
まあとにかく君たち新聞部には全員ちゃんとアリバイがある。心配しなくていいからな。
Oh, we have plenty of reason to worry, but not about this, at least for now. I breathed a sigh of relief. Even if I knew I was innocent, I'd still be terrified of being arrested anyway.
ただ君と有村君、それと和樹君は事件を間近で見た目撃者だ。申し訳ないが、所轄の担当者が資料を作るのに協力してほしいと言ってる。
Paperwork.
はいはい。やだって言ってもどうせ連れてくんですよね。
And dragging
いや、
Kazuki to boot.
別に君たちは被疑者じゃないから、あくまでも協力をだね。
Well, good luck getting information out of Kazuki, because she doesn't have a habit of using words.
この前もそんなこと言ってましたけど。
Indeed.
しかし、なんだろうな、君たちは。
And finally we get to the heart of the matter. Shinjo brushed his hand through his bangs. He hadn't cut his hair for a while.
何がです？
前回の柿田さんの事件といい、先日の彼女、クルス・ノノさんの死傷事件といい、ここのところ怪しい事件といえば必ず君たちが関わっている。
Indeed.
これは偶然なんだろうか。
Maybe not.
それは。
You can't exactly deny the coincidence. He was right. Even ignoring what happened to Kurisu, this was another potential homicide, like revolving dead. But we were just innocent bystanders. This time, at least. I knew that better than anyone.
僕たちは本当にたまたま。
Then again, we did kind of enter into a crime scene, so...
たまたま
Kunosato interrupted me.
本当にたまたまなのか。お前たちが気づいていないだけで何かある可能性は、事件を呼び寄せるような何かが。
You've hit the nail right on the head, Mio Kunosato. Also, given the fact that you are the one who was responsible for the flame war between Watabe and the newspaper club that led to this in the first place. So, you're kind of culpable in this as well. I tried to say something back to her, but couldn't. Her eyes were that cold when she looked at me. Damn it. What was with this girl? That's just how she is, Takuru. I was starting to get angry, and that was enough to get me to open my mouth.
僕、
Probably a
あなたに
mistake.
何か。
なんだ
But I regretted it immediately. She was scary.
その、
Maybe we should have finished that thought.
言いたいことがあるならはっきり言え。時間の無駄だ。
And you're wasting mine, Mio Kunosato. I don't care if you're Mimose's pupil. Dagnabbit.
じゃあ聞かせてもらいます。けど、その僕、あなたに何かしましたか？
Well, time to bite that bullet on the head.
ああ
その、なんだかすごく嫌われてるような。
And she does. And that non-response is all the answer I need.
いや、僕の気のせいだったら、すみません。
I don't think it's your imagination, and I certainly don't think she would care about your apology.
気にしない方がいいですよ、先輩。この人は誰に対してもこんな感じですから。
That she is. To everyone. Was that true? The answer is yes. That was okay then. Or...
誰に対してもというのは違うな。
Yeah.
お前たちに対してだけだ。
Probably should elaborate on you people there.
お前たち。
ああ、そうだ。お前たちだ。
Again, elaboration. Did she mean me and Arimura? Or...
もしかして以前どこかで。
いや、お前のその神気臭い顔を見るのは初めてだ。
It's very rude. Damn it. Well, time to unsubscribe from Shibuya News. If you'll pardon my language, fuck you, Kay. Then why did she have to be such a bitch? Very good question. Applause.
とにかく
Applause.
手口から見て今回の事件もこれまでの猟奇事件との関連性が疑われる。
That it is, Shinjo. Trying to change
ニュー
the
ジェネの
subject.
狂気の再来っすか？
Oh dear. The strange way that Watabe had died. And then the fact that today was October 10th. Just like Shinjo said, it was possible that there was a connection.
ああ、司法解剖の結果を待たなければ断定はできないが、日付と犯行の異常性は一致する。
Yeah, the modus operandis aren't exactly the same, but the dates definitely correspond.
ところで宮代君、聞いてもいいか？
Of course, that means we only have 3 more victims if the timestamps are correct.
はい。何でしょうか。
They want to ask Takuru one more question.
あのボードは君たちが？
Yeah, there was no way that even Shinjo wouldn't have ignored this. Shinjo was looking at the map that we put together to follow the case.
はい、そうですけど。
Yeah, no point in lying to him about that.
ちょっと見せてもらってもいいかな？
Can't stop you. Shinjo stood up without waiting for my answer and walked over to the board. Kunosato moved away from the wall and followed him. Yeah.
これ、どう思う？
そうだな。
The two of them started to whisper to each other. I tried to listen in, but I couldn't make it out, even though we're right there. With nothing else to do, I whispered to Arimura.
あのさ、あの久野里って人、うちの生徒なのか？
Well, she wears the uniform. For some reason, Arimura was staring at me in surprise.
僕、何か変なこと言った？
いえ、先輩がタメ口だったから。
I once again reiterate my point that we need to be even more self-conscious. Also, you're dodging the question. I must have been so distracted by everything else that was going on that I didn't think.
ごめんなさい、つい。
いえ、そのままでいいです。私は前からそうしてくれと言ってましたし。
わかりまし、じゃなくて、わかったよ、有村さん。
有村。
え？
さんもつけなくていいです。
わかった。有村。
If you insist. First, the two of us had been together at the scene of Wadabi's death, and now we had that strange, arrogant woman angry at us. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Maybe that was why I was finally able to talk to her normally, even though she's still hiding things from us.
それで、何の話でしたっけ？
あ、だからあの人。
The two of them were still talking about something in front of the map I'd made.
知らないんですか？先輩と同じ3年生だそうですよ。と言っても、ほとんど学校に来たことないらしいですけど。
That we already managed to deduce.
学校に来ないって、不登校ってこと？
さあ、私もそこまでは。
Clearly not. ChäoS was in my grade, but I was sure I'd never seen her at school. Ito and Kurusu had a lot of connections. Would they know her? Probably not. Kurusu maybe, but definitely not Ito.
っていうか、そもそも何者なんだ？僕たちのこと嫌ってるみたいだけど。
Whoever gave us that idea.
さあって、知り合いなんだろ？
私もこの前会ったばかりで詳しいことは知りません。ただ。
Yeah. This time she's actually telling the truth, even with that expression on her face. Our conversation was cut off by the sudden sound of a phone.
失礼。
Yeah, that would be Shinjo's. Shinjo took his phone out of his pocket. It was an old Japanese flip phone. Who still used one of those in 2015? Flip phones. I actually kind of find those quaint still. Although these days everyone uses smartphones now. I started to worry about whether a wrong-sider like that was capable of solving this case at all.
あ、そうか。わかった。それじゃ。
Looks like the brass want him recalled. Or maybe it's Momose. Someone must have told him to go somewhere. He folded up his phone and put it back in his pocket, then turned to face us.
俺たちは先に失礼する。君たちの迎えは少し後になると思うが、くれぐれも協力頼むな。
Looks like we're cooperating whether we like it or not.
はあ。
And we really don't like it.
わかりました。
だから、そうめんどくさそうな顔するなって。時間がかからないように手は打っておく。それじゃ、頼んだぞ。
I think the same cannot be said of your companion there. Shinjo motioned to Kunosato, and the two of them left the room. As she left, Kunosato gave us one last cold glance. And the room fell silent. No one felt like talking, so we started to take our phones or read magazines. He said it would be a while before the police would arrive to pick us up. The only thing we could do was kill time. Well, once again,
なあ、
unable to keep that promise to Kurosu about not being involved with the case. I tried to talk to Arimura, but she either didn't hear me or was ignoring me. She was playing with her phone too. She seemed to be trying to get in touch with someone. It looked like she has a lot of friends, so she may have been asking what happened with the culture festival, even though it's a given that it is pretty much going to be shut down. Oh well.
もう一度事件の整理をしてみるか。
That we will.
ねえ、タク。
Yeah, it's not like we have a choice. Serika stopped me as I started to head for the board.
どうした尾上。
能力者ってなんだろうね。
は？
Odd time to be bringing that up. Psychic. Wait, psychic? Like those con artists you see running dingy little shops? Couldn't be.
なんだそれ。ラノベかなんかの話か。
Are you bringing this out of the blue all of a sudden, Serika?
さっき、新藤さん？
新庄さんか？
I doubt that he's a psychic.
さっき新庄さんが制服の上に白衣着た人とそんなことを。
Ah, so Serika overheard their conversation. Why were they
お
talking
前、
about psychics?
二人の話聞こえたのか？
It was true that the two of them had been mumbling in front of the board. I could barely hear it, but Serika was evidently able to make out some words from where she was sitting.
歴史シールの不可思議な現象とか、能力者がなんとかとか、事件に関係あるのかなって。
Why would psychics be involved with this? If they were talking about it now, then of course it had something to do with the case. Obviously. But still, psychics. There was one instance of possible psychics in the original New Generation Madness, but that was a entirely different phenomenon. Completely different. Like a mind reader or something, or someone who could move stuff with his brain. They didn't think this was all being caused by psychics with superpowers or something, did they? Well, stranger things are happening.
いくらなんでも警察がそんなこと真面目に。
聞き間違いじゃないのか？
Both Ito and Kazuki were looking at her questioningly.
そうかな。確かにそんな風に聞こえたんだけど。
I don't think we have any reason to doubt Serika.
なあ有村、何か心当たりはないか？
She'd spent time with Shinjo. Maybe she knew, but that little mystery is going to have to wait until the next episode, I'm afraid. So when we return, adventurers, we shall try and get to the bottom of this latest mystery. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.